If you plan on having multiple people use your database at once, I highly recommend that you consider splitting it. Splitting a database separates the objects into two separate files, creating what is called a front end and a back end. In the front end are all of the user interface elements, the forms, reports, and queries. The back end is where all of the data tables get stored. Splitting a database into a front end and a back end creates a situation where you can place the data tables in a common location on a network drive so that everyone in the organization can use them, while each individual user gets their own copy of the front end on their local machine. Let me show you how to split your database. I've got the Kinetico database open up here, and I'm going to go up to Database Tools, and over here in the Move Data section, I'm going to press this button that says Access Database. This will open up the Database Splitter wizard, and this is the easiest wizard in all of Access. It has a couple of paragraphs of text that you can read through, and then a button down here that says Split Database. Let's go ahead and push that, and Access is going to ask me where I want to put the backend file. Notice in the file name that it's suggesting down here that it takes the existing database name, Kinetico-splitting is what we started with, and it appends an _BE to note that this is the backend file. Let's go ahead and place this in our exercise files folder. I'll go out to my desktop, scroll down to exercise files, and we'll place it in the chapter 4 folder. Let's go ahead and press the button down here that says split. After a moment, you'll get a little message that says the database was successfully split, and we'll press OK and see the changes. Notice over here in the navigation pane that all of our tables are now linked tables. That's indicated by the blue arrow in their icon. I can double click on a table to open it up and see the data just like normal, but if I close the table, I'm going to get a message that says that I can't edit it because it's a linked table. If I want to make any modifications to these tables, I'll need to go into the source database. Then it asks if I want to open it anyway to review it. I can say yes, and it'll let me look at the design view. Let's go ahead and close this out. So all of my tables now are linked to the backend file, but the backend file is just another Access database without any forms, queries, or reports. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'm going to close the main file here and go out to my exercise files folder, and I'll find the one with the _BE at the end of the file name. Let's go ahead and double click on that to open it. Now you can see we're in a completely separate Access database, and all of the tables are local to this database. They're not linked. Now what happens if your backend file moves? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to close the backend file. And I'm going to come into the exercise files folder, and I'm just going to create a new folder. I'm going to press Control-Shift-N to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this network. Let's pretend that this folder represents a network drive on our system. And I'm going to take my backend file, and I'm going to move it into the network. Now what happens when I open up the front end? The front end database loads, and at first, we don't see any changes. But what happens if we try and open up one of the tables? I'll double click on the customers table again. Now I get a message saying that it can't find the file, and it tells me where it's trying to find it, in the chapter 4 folder inside this BE file, not inside of that network folder that we just placed it in. Access stores absolute file paths to the linked backend files. So if the backend moves, we'll need to relink all of our tables. Let me show you how to do that. Let's go ahead and say OK to this. I'm going to go up to the External Data tab, and the Import and Link section, I'm going to press the Linked Table Manager. Over here in the Linked Table Manager, I'm going to select all, just put a check mark in all of my tables, and then we'll say OK. Access will ask us for the new location of our backend file, and I can find that on my desktop, inside my exercise files folder, inside chapter 4, and inside that network folder. There's our backend, so I'll select it and say open. Access tells me that all selected linked tables were successfully refreshed, so I can say OK, and then we'll close the Linked Table Manager. Now if I try and open up one of these tables, I can see it just fine. So because Access stores absolute paths to the backend data tables, you might need to update the linked table references when you deploy your completed database to your end users. However, since most organizations set up their network shared drive so they're mapped to the same drive letters across every computer, all of your end users will typically use the same path.